This is a pumpkin, a felted wool pumpkin that I got from Trader Joe's for about $8. And this is what we're going to be working with today. It's going to be fun. If you don't mind, could you stop for a second and give this a thumbs up? It's a non-monetized channel, but it really helps. Just a thumbs up. Thanks. Good morning. Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing good. I'm really actually doing really great, and I'm really interested in talking about my new project or idea. What happened was, I'm having my cup of coffee. Have one with me. Man, I'm not a really coffee this is decaf, but gotta get the juices going this morning when I have to talk. So my girlfriend, Debbie, went to Trader Joe's a couple weeks ago and noticed this guy. See, nothing on it. And the label said, Trader Joe's, handcrafted, felted, wool pumpkin, wool. $8, I believe. That's a steal if it's wool. It says wool. I mean, I don't think they can label it that. Now, I don't think it's solid wool. No. So she said, what do you think about it? I said, well, she brought, I got one. I had a friend get me one. And I said, it's not thick wool because that would be weird. But it's thick enough that they can put it over some sort of a core, maybe a light styrofoam core, or maybe some dense product made from an after product, maybe of the wood industry or something. It feels light, maybe not styro. I know, no, not that light. It has some heft to it, and of course it's probably got and what it is, it made enough to make these indentations. So now maybe it's a armature underneath that's shaped like a pumpkin, and they just put this wool over the top of it. I don't know. I may take one apart to see, but so far, no. So that was and so her idea was, she said, well, if I come over, can you help me dry felt? Because I've given them wet felting lessons. Some of you are my students, and I've done that. But this is going to be dry felting. So sure enough, she came over. And what we did was we just took thin, you take your wool, go very thin, and then dry felt it right along each of these ribs, and it gives it a definition. And then the idea was, okay, let's put stuff on top of it, different wools and different things. And I even added a little stem because, of course, the original stem is very, very short. If you look, see, that's real short. So I thought it should be longer. And then she's going to add neps and different things to hers, and maybe fall leaves. And I was just talking to a friend of mine, Sue. Hi, Sue. And she said she's going to do maybe felted leaves. So she's been looking at videos because that's a good way to understand this. These YouTubers out there, not me, I'm not good at this. Other people, right? They'll give you an idea of how to do this. So then, guys, if you guys know me as an artist, and if you don't, go through some of my videos and you'll soon get an idea. In the Gording world, I'm called the Rhino Lady for a reason. Anyway, this wasn't enough for me. So I did that. Yeah, I put a face on it because that's what I do, right? And I thought, oh my gosh, these are great gifts, or just, Halloween, Thanksgiving. They don't have to look creepy. They could be sweet, or, like I said, my friend is just doing beautiful embellishment on it, which when she gets it done, I want her to send me a picture so I can share. But anyway, there's that one. So then, of course, I can't stop with that. And so then I made another one. And I made this one. This faces more to the center. And you see that one's more upward. And I kind of like that idea. However, I don't like that the eyes should be more bulbous. They should poke out more, I think. But look at that nose. Isn't that a great nose? And great lips. And nice cheeky cheeks. And then, of course, I did the same thing. This has got the, delineation like you would see on a pumpkin. And I haven't decided hair yet. I've got to finish that off. And I thought, well, I could do that. Or I could do this. We could do this pump, sort of a totem idea, right? I thought that would be kind of cute, going all different ways as a centerpiece. And so I went and had a friend of mine go and get more pumpkins. So if this is something, I would suggest go to Trader Joe's, get this. And in this video, I'm going to add at some point, I'm waiting for a camera, not a camera, a camera holder. I want one that goes on my neck so I can do maybe frontal shots. So that's coming today. And then I'm gonna show just some basics. I know you saw I did this, but this is not me being an expert. And, but I'm sure learning, and it's fun. And listen, if I did this, you guys can do this. I'm really not, I'm good at sculpting in some ways. I suppose I do have that professionalism to me, but I don't sketch and I don't do those sorts of things. So, I mean, I only started felting a couple years ago. So when you show how to do this, I think you guys could do it. And I'm going to try to show that in a rudimentary way. But you can also, Living Felt, I believe, has a tutorial. And Serafina Fiber has a tutorial on how to put faces on a pumpkin. Far better than I am. And there's another lady on there. I'm going to find her video that I thought was very good. So I'm not sure if they both have it. I'll have to look. But like I said, look around. Just put into the search engine and YouTube, pumpkin fiber, fiber or wool fiber pumpkin faces. And that should pop up enough for you to do this. But I will also do something and add it to this video too. But I wanted you to see this. Hope this is a good view. This is the first time I'm using a neck camera. I'm trying to get better at what I do, guys, better. Okay, so we're talking about, I'm using roving, not batting, which comes in these long, and I want to do a nose. So they're saying like, okay, you want a nice little fat piece. And until you get better, you can cut it if you want to, because you can always fringe it, or you can grab it. Remember, there's lengths of fiber that comes across, and you can pull it. And I'm thinking, I'm always going to look at I'm going, well, that's going to be fine. Okay, because you're going to be fitting it. So I'm thinking, okay, but I know, and I think I already know that I want this to be fatter. I want a nice fat nose. So I'm going to make it fat. I can add to it, but I think that's pretty good. And they're telling you that you find I'm using a chopstick, and I'm going to use the fattest part of it, and you want to pull it on here, and you want to start wrapping it around. Now you could also just roll it on here if you don't want to do that. But see, I'm just going to be pulling it, and I'm keeping it really close because I just want this stubby. You're giving it just a little pull, okay, so that you're getting the air out of it. And you don't turn it, you keep it flat. You don't twist it. See, so it's looking something like that. And then you just slide it off. Chopstick is all lacquered, you see. If it was just like maybe a shish kebab stick, I think they're too rough and it won't slide off. So then I'm going to take this and I'm going to say, well, what do I think? Well, then you have to decide. Do you want a big old nose? What do you want? I want it smaller, stubbier. But like I tell you, I never know what it's going to turn out like. But I do know that I've got to have one end that's fringy. And the reason you're keeping one end fringy is that's what you're going to felt it on with, right? That's what you're going to put it up by the top of the head, right? Like this. And then you've got this part. So then I'm thinking, okay, I think now if you're going to make a real stubby nose, which I think is going to be more like this guy, or you're going to go longer, which is my other guy. I'm going to keep reaching over and showing you. See? But I don't know. We're going to think about this. So I think I'm going to do I'm going to turn this under. Just turn it under like that. Right? Just give it a little turn. And sometimes you're going to be able to see me do this. Just so it won't pop back, right? And I'm using fine, and you can use more aggressive. And look at what you've got. Look at, even just doing, okay, let's just say as simple as I just did that. Just as simple as that. Look it. Guys, that is not bad. You could just put that on there. You've got a side look to it. See, you can bring that down. There's nothing wrong with that. Miracle, miracle. So that wasn't hard, right? Even I just said it wasn't hard. So, and what you would do is you would just felt it on. I use it in between, in right there. I stick it in between. And I leave it pretty free. And I go, okay, well, that it's coming down kind of far though. That's kind of coming down further than I want it. I also want you to know, no matter how much we felt on this, we can rip this nose off anytime. Even I've ripped noses off after I thought the whole thing was done. So I'm thinking it's got to be shorter. So I'm thinking, okay, so let me pull it a little bit. And you can cut it. Yeah, I think I like it. I may leave that there and put this on there. But before I do that, I want to make this a little bit firmer, because you don't want your nose to be so soft when it's on there that it's going to be, you can't even touch it. Now, another secret though that we're going to do, and I'm going to show you on my finished pumpkins, you can add a 50-50 wash on it, Elmer's glue wash, not Mod Podge. You guys are listening to me. Remember, you watch my channel, no Mod Podge. The day I buy Mod Podge, I will have to tell you exactly why, and it'll be very specific. I recommend that we do this with a fine, not aggressive. And there's several kinds of fine. You have to look. You can get the very finest, and this isn't even the finest. I can get another one. If you get little holes, I don't want you to worry about the holes, because what you do is you just go like that and they go away. So right now what you're doing is you're felting. When you're poking, that is the actual felting. See? You're poking it. And I'm going to leave that there for now. So I want it to be a little bit firmer. I'll do this for a while. This could get boring and then I'll come back. Another thing is, if you wanted maybe less holes as you're getting more, you can also felt from the underside of the nose so that you're not going right through the top. And then you don't have to worry. It's still going to felt it, but it's just not maybe going to be from the top. If you don't want anything to happen to that curve, you can do it from that direction. There, I worked on it not even another minute or off camera, and it's just feeling a little bit more firm, not like the wool is going to come right off, right? And I just poked it, and not aggressively, and just trying to get it so it's not quite. And you can also help this along when you're doing the pulling initially on here. Nice and tight. Not enough to, of course, pull the fiber right off, but you'll learn. It's a skill. You do in one direction, you keep it flat, and you go over and over and over. And it's a skill set. You'll learn to do it. But tight. If you can do it tighter, when you pull it off, you're going to have a nose that's tighter. Okay, so there's our nose. Shall we put it on? Okay. Let's get wild here. So I wanted it a little, I'm deciding. So you push it down, and you think, my eyes are going to be here. And, you need to decide. Now, one thing, when I have the orientation of your face, one of my people is more facing upward, and one of my guys is more facing straight ahead. So when he's down lower, it's where you're going to put the pumpkin when you're showing it, I guess. So you have to think about orientation. But remember, I thought that was way too low. Now, when they're talking about nose placement on real people, they talk about finding your center, no, you're not. This is fantasy. You're just going to do it where you like it, and you'll learn. And remember, I just think that I want it shorter. I don't want it to go I don't want my end of my nose to go beyond my center. I really don't. So I'm going to stick it up here, and then I'm going to use my aggressive needle, not my fine one, and I'm going to aggressively, if all you have is fine, go right ahead. It'll just take a little longer. So you just get an aggressive needle right here, and you go poke, 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 poke. And there it is. And there he sits. So there's your nose. Now, of course, eventually you're going to want to put it down, and we're going to want to make our little nostrils, because see this, and what I like about this is you've pretty much got your nostril. You can just go in here, see, and you can put it down. I want to wait a little before I do that, though. You give so now, there we go. We've got our nose in zippity time. So now a lot of times, if you're looking online, they're going to tell you to make your mouth next, which we can. I just feel like I have better luck if I make my eyes first. Now, eyes are a challenge. I don't know if I've got them down quite yet. So I think we could work on the eye part. And this is something you're going to just have to keep doing, eyes. I think, like they got to be the same. It's like doing ears, right? Both have to be the same size. And I have some little hacks of how I do it. So I'm going to do one of them on here, put it up to see what I like my size. And I do them together down here. I'm going to try to make a template. I want the eyes pretty big. And don't forget, when we felt, things get smaller. So I'm thinking, that's not bad. I might want them down further. So all you have to do is bring that bridge of your nose down. So just bring it down so that first part of the hump is going to match right there. That's how I do it. I bring that bridge down, and then wherever that little bit comes here, that's where I stick it. And I want it just a little. See, I think he's looking upward, and he's looking straight. I like maybe the straight a little bit better, so I'm going to bring it down. You just learn. You can rip it off and do it again. So that's my starting point, okay? So now, this is sort of my template. So now you get white. Now, wool comes in different shades of white. You don't have to have the white of this eye, white, white, white. It's a pumpkin. If you wanted to even use another darker shade, you absolutely could. I'm not, but you can, okay? So what you want to do is you want to make 2 balls of equal amount. Now, I have a criticism of this guy. I want to rip that up. I want bulbous eyes. This is a little bit better, but I want bigger bulbous eyes. That's what I've decided I want. So I can do that with this. I want them to be about the same. But don't forget, as we felt, things get smaller. So maybe that's even one eye. And remember also, you can adjust the sizes by how much you felt. So I'm thinking, maybe I want them bigger than I think I do. So you have to sit and kind of look. And if you have to do this, you can make 4 or 5 of these and then pick the 2 that are closest when you're getting new at this. So I'm just going to try to get this into an absolute circle. That's like you were making a dryer ball, right? Okay, you're just going to make it. We're not looking at real eye here. I know I drew that real, but we're not worried about that right now. We're just trying to get a nice, big, round ball. And I will stay on. You can fast forward if this gets boring for you, but I thought I was going to take it off camera. But I thought, well, if you're having trouble making your ball, you might want to watch the process. So I'm going to leave it on. But like I said, fast fifi, if you already know how to make a ball, then that's the beauty of a video, right? You can just fast forward the boredom away, right? When I get so darn bored. When I get boring, I should say. So you just watch. See, I'm just sort of pulling it, hitting it, pulling it, hitting it, pulling it, hitting it, pulling it, hitting it. Anyway, part of it's not going to show because it's going to be attached, right? So you just want one part to be bulbous. Now, you know that looks too big, but you're going to bring it way down. And as you bring it way down, you're also going to be making that eye firmer, which is what you want. You don't want it so cloud-like that, it's very soft. You want the eye to be a nice, firm orb, I feel. I think in the beginning I was making everything underfelted. especially the nose. I think I have to work harder on getting that. Because, you know, you can felt right down to, they used to make doll faces that were so firm out of felt wool when they did doll faces years ago that they were like hard as a rock. And you can do that. But once you get down to that firmness, you can't take it apart anymore, like I was showing you. Because when it's that way, you got to stay with it. But I've done it, and they last longer. And they're less fuzzy. As you get better and better, you can go to that level of felting. So and probably the first thing you'll do in this thing is you'll start, you'll start too small. You'll say, oh no, that's way too big of an eye. And then you'll have to add. That's okay, that's how you're learning. I've decided I want to go bigger. But you're always pulling in. See, you're bringing it, pulling in, bringing it, pulling it to the center. I think I'm going to get a little more aggressive. I got out my new pink, more aggressive needle that I found, remember, in my stash. Let me see if I like it. Wow, look at that. It's really so much different. You can feel the difference. But I'm wondering if this will stab faster than just doing that fine. Oh, and it is. Lo and behold, I got myself. You got to be careful. You can buy guards for your fingers, guys, little leather guards. So see how that's beginning to form an eye? And then let's just see. Really, look at it. It is not that bad. Look, if you look at it here, it's not that, oh, look, it's not that bad, folks. So I say, okay. Now let me do the other one to see if I can get them the same. I won't bore you with that one. I'll come back. I'm going to keep on for a second because I realized something. Let's say you're felting, you're doing this, right? You're trying to get this eye in place. And you do this a long time. You're going to felt this into here. So every once in a while you need to pick it up and turn it so that you don't felt your eyeball right into it or anything you're working on. I'm going to come back for a few seconds now and talk. Look, okay, here they are. They are not the same size. This one is slightly bigger. And I know that looks big. I wanted to say I would pull wool away, but don't do that. You can always just felt it tighter. But they're close though. They're not horribly. So I'm going to work a little bit more. I'll be back. Okay, I've worked a little bit. I know it's only for instant for you. I still think this needs to come down a little bit, don't you guys? I want to talk about stabbing. You know, I didn't really talk about that. I talked about breaking needles. Now, I also told you that you can feel the difference between the two different types. This is very easy to go in. This is a little harder, and this is harder. Anyway, I want to talk about stabbing. Because if you start wiggling it, that's when you're going to break your needle. So we're talking about stabbing. Stab, stab, stab. Stab, stab, stab. See? Stab, stab. Watch your fingers. I know you're gonna stab yourself. Everybody does who felts, but try to give it your best. But don't stab and bend. You're gonna break your needle. And that's how people do it. They stab and then they curve like this, and you have to go sideways, of course, sometimes, but you just stab, 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 stab. Little hint there. So I was looking at this. I've been stabbing at it for a little bit. It's closer. I think this one's prettier. I think I did a better job on that one. I think this I maybe had a little bit more wool on it. I don't know. Not much, though. Not by much. If it was a lot, I would have, I could tell. But that is, those are, you're not going to go, oh, those are really horribly different. Kind of shaping it narrower on one end, I guess is what I'm trying to do. See, I've kind of shaped that. So maybe it has more of a little eye point there. And take some time right here. Really work with this. Get this shape to be the way. You have time here. And if you want to do several of them and pick your best one. But see how I'm getting a little bit of a little tweak in there now? Can you see that? I feel like it's working with clay. Feels very much like that to me. They're not going to be exact. And the one reason they don't have to be is they're going to be at a different angle. And also, you can sometimes make them cattywampus so that they have a really funny look. Don't have the eyes even. Have them off. They're a pumpkin, right? And I don't want as much wool here closer to the, where it comes into the nose, right? You want that to be less. So I can bring that down a little. And then I can look at it and see a little bit longer than I want it to be. Okay, so now I think we're going to put this up here, and we're going to get very daring. I'm going to put the one I like best on first, and I want it lower. Remember how I thought I want this to be a little bit maybe looking more towards me? Think about how you want to look at you. Now remember, if we don't like this, what can we do, guys? Rip it off. I'm going to start with my finer coming out away from the face, right? Now remember, this is not forever. We can rip it out. Remember, I told you we can. Well, this part you'll never see, but I put that one on. This is very relaxing. Now, they're not too off. They're not too bad. Not really too bad at all. Bringing this down just a little. Gotta be careful, though. I don't want it to over-felt here on the top. I'm trying to felt from the side, and I'm trying to felt from the bottom to keep my top nice and fluffy, right? Did I keep it fluffy? Yes, I did. Maybe I'll be sorry it'll be too fluffy. And we'll talk about that. Okay, what do we think? I brought that down. Got our... Now, here's what you can do. If you like that and you think you're going to go with that, you could actually leave it and start working on other things and do the other part of the eye last. Because here's the thing. When you put in the iris, which is your colored part, and when you do that, that's when you place it, you're giving yourself your expression. So I am not necessarily an advocate of putting this in right away, because once I do it, I'm stuck with the direction that it's looking in. And I kind of want, and you can do it anytime, I feel. That's what I'm going to go out there on the limb and say. I just want it as a placemaker. It's harder though. Some people say, well, then it's not looking at me. It doesn't have a character to it because that's what it gives me. And that's why I want it there. But look I've got this. This is still pretty free. Let's work with other pieces, guys, and we'll come back to this. The next has to be the mouth. Oh, boy. Well, I keep saying, well, I think this is harder. This is going to be, I don't know. I don't think, the thing with the lips is, though, they give you, like, look, this is an old piece I have left over. See how it just gives you your whole, like, maybe the eyes do, but I don't know. I think the mouth. And I'm not sure yet. So we got to think about how wide of a mouth do we want? Get this closer. I want, don't forget, it gets smaller, but I'm thinking, and then they say, well, the upper lip can be smaller, the upper lip can be larger. The upper lip can be anything you want it to be. Look at some pictures. I am trying to get a lady face. I have a very hard time making a lady face. And I the lips have something to do with that. And I don't know, maybe I should retain myself to this area right here. And I don't know, like a smaller upper lip and a bigger lower lip. I'm going to think. I went and looked at some faces. Oh, and when I went and looked at some faces, guys, a place you want to look to do felting pumpkin faces was called Gypsy Felting. These ladies did a cute job. GYPSYFELTING. Gypsy Felting. And you can find them doing faces. And I like what they did. I might do some of their ideas too. So I think that maybe for a lady, I want sort of an off-kilter, kind of a very smiley face with maybe thinner lips and maybe more of a chin. Not trying to do witchy, but of course this is pumpkin-y thing. So I'm going to maybe go with smaller lips, I think. So I'm going to take some of this away. And I'm going to just take, I'm guessing. So that's, I think it's less. Living Felt tells you to make tacos. So does Serafina. And what they mean is they want you to make a square like this, or rectangle, excuse me. And then they're going to have you make a part that's going to be where you're going to have the lip. And if you wanted to have a little bit more of a lip line, you kind of roll it, or you can take a thin piece of rolled up wool, maybe like this, and you could stick it there, and that would make it bigger. So that's like stuffing it, right? So I don't know if we need to do that, but they say to do this, make a line. So you see, you kind of make a line. Then you kind of roll this. You roll it forward and see how you've got that really nice. And then they want you to go along, because this is they call this a taco because it's kind of a, I guess that's the shape you get, see? Or they'll say make a taco. And this is what they're talking about. And they do it for different, and one of the things they do is they do it for lips. So then they say to pull it off gently, of course. And you've got a lip. I guess maybe I didn't do it enough. I don't care that it goes beyond I don't want my lips to go beyond, I think, this groove here. They would say the fringy part. This is the fringe. They would say fringe it out and then cut it and stick it up, and it's going to go in there. Should I do what they say just to do? Maybe? I don't know. God, I can go. Oh, I can just lift up my nose. What do you mean? I can lift my nose up. I didn't put my nose down, remember? Just remembered that. I think I want more of a lip line. So I put in a lip line, if you want, right? And if you want it more, you just roll it. That's kind of cool. Anyway, you got your lip line. And, okay, so you put your up, goes up. And then we're going to try to fit it. It's hard to work and do the camera work, I can tell you that. Wait, am I showing? This is going to go up. I'm going to bring this down a little bit under the nose. And then I'm going to bring this out here too. When we get the bottom lip on, I think then we can work with it, right? We can decide. Maybe that's what it has to be. You have to have both lips on. Okay, so I need to make another taco. pull it off. And I think maybe I turn it over and give it its lip line on this side too. I don't think you just do it from behind. And then, haha, look, guys, we began to get, that's true, you put them both. And so I'm thinking, I'm gonna play with it, right? Pulling it underneath like that. I like that. So putting it under the nose was a cute, I didn't see anybody do that. So let's just see how that works. You guys are learning this with me. And this all can be fringed out and go into this, you know, it'll disappear. You don't even have to cut it away. We can get rid of it. But we want to get our face. Now this is where we got to really start working. Oh, okay, you just pull it. Just push it down. That's all you do. Just push it down. Oh, it's like clay, right? I just pushed it down because I want more cheek, more something underneath the nose. So you just pull it. Now, you also make a difference. If you're going to have the mouth open at all, then sometimes when you open the mouth, you have to put teeth. But if you close it, you don't. So that's another thought. Okay, what I really want you to start noticing, more than the shape of my mouth, which you can do any way you want, is by taking the fringe from the top taco that we made for the top. See how I took up the fibers, I put them up to the eye. But mostly what you're doing is you're bringing it all this way. See how I'm making it smooth? So, and do that on both sides. Pull everything over. Then do similar with the bottom lip. Now here's what you can do with this bottom part. You can pull this lower one up and make a thicker lip if you want, and you can pull it down and cover it with a chin, or just cover the surface of the pumpkin with it. So that's what this is, that's what you're doing. But I want you to see the way the fibers are running. You can begin to make that mouth be what you want. And you will know more when you put the cheeks in. But this is what I wanted you to see. I'm just going to work a little on making those lips a little bit more standouty by poke and run. And then I can add to that lip, which is what I really like about it. I can make it thicker or thinner right then and there and pull the rest out onto the surface, which I never thought about that. So that to me is a good idea. We are also not going to finish the lips. We can leave them and we can work on them also as we work on the cheeks, because this is going to be the sculpting part. Now, when we get to this point, I want to stop a little bit, guys. We're getting into well, this has been fun, I hope, right now, but the creative part, right? This is when you're going to make the difference. So play around with it. Enjoy it. You don't have to follow every single thing I do. Some of you guys are better at this than I am. I know you are. So what I want you to do is, I've given you this starting point, right? And I'm thinking, okay, all the things I'm going to be doing, but you are at this point now where you are going to be very, very creative. And I'm looking, thinking, okay, I like this. Now I think I'm going to add the wrinkles. So let me show you how you would at least start that. But I want you to start branching away from me. I think maybe if you go like this and then kind of stab it. Yeah, that's going to do it, guys. So roll it. Roll. And I think in this one video I saw, which might have been those gypsy ladies, I think they even braid theirs kind of and put it in with lines, which I thought looked really cool. But I don't want to steal their thunder. You can go there and look there. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking. See how I got like a nice strip? Well, even finer, I think. Now this you're going to have to play with yourself, because then what you're going to do, and you do it your way, okay? You then take it and you begin to put it. Now sometimes they start it here and go around. You see, you can start it there. I like to do around here, and then I like to do a cheek section like, how can I show it? Like here, let me show you this one. Can you see how I did right here first? And then I did the cheek like that. So you don't see them as much. But on this one, I did the individual. Okay, changing my mind. I want to do round cheeks. So I've got a nice big bunch of this here. I'm gonna cut it. I know you can pull it, but I just want it right in half. Not that I'm not gonna do wrinkles, but I think what I'm gonna do right now is I wanna put a very round cheek. I think that's what I wanna do. See how I maybe wanna do that? I'm gonna put a very round cheek on it. And I don't really know if you need to see me do that, but see, I wanna just give her, I want this to be a her. I'm trying very hard to make this a her. And cheeks kind of go up a little bit, I guess. So right there by the mouth, I'm going to put this very, very cheeky lady. And you can just quickly tie that down. You don't have to make it permanent. Just get it down there. And then I think, okay, do you like that? That's kind of, yeah, we're going in the right direction here. And then I have another one. Oh, I cut this. But then you can roll it. I hope it's going to be as big as the other one. Let's hope. I wanted it to be as big. Is it as big? Pretty close. Remember, you can add and add and add, so I want her to have a big cheek here. I'm going to add a little bit more. I don't think she's got enough. They're maybe not exactly, but they're pretty close. And I made this much fuller. And you can keep adding. You don't have to worry. You can keep adding. So see, then you can take something like this and you can add the wrinkles. You can add the wrinkles. Ooh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to put the nostrils in. Whew, you guys. I'm going to do the heavier. I forgot to put a nostril in. I should have put that in before I put this on, I think. Let's just see. Nostrils for me are very difficult. Oh, this more aggressive needle does a much better job, guys. Everything in symmetrical. Don't put everything, it's a pumpkin. You want it to be a little bit off, okay? So put everything sometimes a little bit off. And if you are off, just leave it that way. So the next thing I have to do is I have to darken the nostril. So there it is. So then we need to try to put some wrinkles on. So let me do a wrinkle, and then I'll come back and show you. So there it is. Now it's not done. You're going to have to work it in, but I stuck it in there. And now I'm going to do one on the other side. Now maybe you don't know where we're at right now, but that's where we're at right this minute. We don't have any eyes in, and we're starting to put our wrinkles in. And they kind of look better as you go in. Mine are smoother. Maybe I don't like those as wrinkled as the other people have done. Let me see what I can do on that. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to push it into a smile line, if you can just see. I'm trying to push that into that cheek area where it's getting more progress. I'm starting to put more rings in there. I'm starting to smooth out, and then I'm starting to pull some of this down and make the chin out of it. But you don't have to do that. Just start working it. And I'll do this for a while, and then we will go to the eyes. Since you might want to know a little bit about blending, even though I don't know exactly what you're doing. See how I'm bringing it around, and I think I'm going to use that to make the chin. But I don't know. You can change it as you go, but that's how I'm beginning to build it. And if you keep poking into that one corner, you can bring up the smile. So now we're looking at the eyes. And you can do eyes that look, that have an iris that has a color. But I don't think so. Then you can do the ones that are more like fantasy, which is just the black. And I think we're going to keep it simple, and we're just going to do that. But where you put that iris is going to tell you a lot about the crazy look of the face. And so you want to take, again, 2 even irises, and you don't need a lot, but you do need some because it's going to be, and you can always add more, of course, but you want about the same. This isn't that hard to balance, though, so I don't know. So you want to have, again, your 2 balls about the same thickness. So bring them around. Like that, right? But then, where are you going to put it? Do you want them up here so they're looking like that? See how you can get the look of it if you do it like that? You can have them looking like that. You can have them looking wall-eyed. That's called wall-eyed back in the day. They can be looking right at their nose, which is kind of weird. They can be, of course, absolutely straight. One can be there. One can be there. You got where you can decide where you're going to put it, right? Show you again that. So just put them around, look online, see what you like. That may be a little too dramatic. They can be looking up like that. They can be looking down. You've got to decide. Now see what I did with this one. I think I kept it they're fairly even in the head. But and you can do that, and then if you want to put a big heavy eyelid, you can, which of course we're going to put behind here. So I'm going to go for, and I don't care if they're even exactly. So we're putting it in, and I'm going to keep this eye pretty. I don't want to get it too flattened. I flattened the others, and I don't like that. That's not too bad. I can do more, of course. Now remember, you're kind of felting into nothing here. See how it disappears? And then you just do both of them the same amount of disappear. And then that's how they're even. So even if it's the same amount, you can just poke them until they are. We could put that little white piece like people do, but we don't have to do that right. So what do you think? That's, you know, hey, that's not looking too bad, guys. Look at. Somebody said if I put eyelashes on her, which somebody showed me how to do, it's going to look like a gal. I don't know. But there we go. How's that looking? Then what you got to do is we got to put that cover over the top of it, which I think we're going to do with that taco idea. We can do it with big rolls, of course, but I think we need like a lid. So we're going to do, again, the taco idea. Remember the taco idea? Now we got to get 2 eyelids the same. So there's 1 eyelid. And of course I didn't grab them the same, did I? Which I think is going to be, I'm going to turn it over. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an eyelid. Trying to make them as close to the same as I possibly can. They're not going to be exact, but I'm trying to, at least I got them next to each other, right, guys? I guess I could measure. Now I'm getting a little nervous. So this is about 3 3/4. Oh, guys, they're just about the same. Talk about eyeballing it. Then we're going to roll it. And then I can put in that the little taco look. One looks smaller than the other, but we can kind of adjust it, I guess. So then what you got to do is you've got your eyelid, right? And there, see how that looks like an eyelid? See that? And then we just push it between there. Now I got to decide, do I want it to be somewhat closed over? How much do I want this to close? I think I want it to have more of a delineation, like it's actually the lid. I'll go on this side too. I don't know if that's helping or not. But, and this can go, of course, it's back. So that's where you have to start thinking. What are you going to do? Do you want it to go over? Like that? Do you want it to be very sleepy-eyed? In which case that should have come a little lower, which we can take it down if you want, like this idea, see? You want it to be like it's half asleep. You can have it up high. See, I want that a little heavier. And I'm going to stick it here. And I can decide how much I want. But see how I'm having a nice big one there? I think to the middle so they meet in the middle. And you're going to do the same on the other side and kind of make a face and then kind of work it in. So I'll come back after I've done that. I want you to see the back. To help you to know what you're doing here. It's a nice big lid. And that's why I firmed it up. I felt it a little bit. And maybe I could have even did it a little firmer. And then do the same on the other side. you can see how I'm going to be fitting that in there. I think that can be a gal, don't you think? Next, you're going to need to put things under there. And I've seen them braided and being very, I'm just going to take, and I don't know if I care that they're the same for the two of them. I don't know how much I care about that. I do know that I want a wrinkle under there, right? Maybe I do want to pull two similar. Let me see. We haven't used hardly any ounces either, so see how little it takes. But you do have to be careful when you start this that you have enough to finish, right? So now we're always going to take a wisp and we're going to stick it up in there. So you always start here and then you take that wisp and you put it up in the eye. And then you bring it, and I've been poking this eye. Don't leave this nice and full, but I've been trying to poke this white into a little tight corner. Okay, so there I've got that, and I'm going to pull it around, make a wrinkle out of it. Now, sometimes you want this to come like this. You want this part to meet. So you pull that out a little. I brought it too far. And you want it to come up here, and you want them to meet and go off together. In other words, you can bring this I brought it forward, but I could bring it out like that. Say, then pull this so that they both kind of meet, going upward. And then that's going to give you more of a smile. An upward, eye. See, I'm bringing that tight. And you really got to go around behind here. See how I'm going behind here? And really put that behind the eye. Really nice and firmly so it forms. You want to really go back and do that. Now, if you want to put bags on the eyes, you can do it here, but it would have to be like a taco thing again to make the bag. And I have seen that, and I don't know if I want to do it. I'm going to think about it. I've got 3 in here now. You can add as many as you want. You can go on top until you build it. Just start creating. And don't necessarily cut this off yet. You can maybe decide what you're going to do. Just wait. A little hint, if any of you have had an anatomy class or done dissections or know how facial muscles go if you don't have the skin on, you're basically taking the skin off of a face and showing the muscles and the attachment. And that's how you're showing it on the pumpkin. Another thing you can do is you can just add wisps. Take little wisps and add them, just like you're painting or using clay. Again, start thinking where the fibers are. Like even on the cheek, you can start pulling this out. And then so that on the side, it looks good. In other words, you can pull these fibers and start covering and making it like it's clay, like you're pulling it out. So pay attention to that part of it too, that you're pulling so you have a look to it when you turn it around. Also, go along in here and poke in between the mouth here and delineate that line so it's cleaner. If you're not going to open the mouth, you still want it. You could put a thin row of black yarn in there, but I'm going to see what I can do this way first. Maybe a chin. If I'm going to do a chin, you would do it with how you do this thing where you spread it out nice and thick. Spread it out. See, I don't want a beard, I want a chin. Because this is a lady. I'll come back. So what you're seeing here is I just pulled it under. I just want to make a chin. and sometimes looking like another lip if you're not careful. But you do want to have a chin, I think. You can always take it off if you don't like it. But I think they need a chin. Bring your threads down. Pull them out so you've got them going from the chin, from the side of the cheek. They should come down. And we're going to add coloring down here. We've come a long way. Look what we've got from what we had. I'm not done, but look. Is that a lady though? Am I gonna, if I put eyelashes and the right hair, I guess she'll be a girl. I don't want it to be a guy, so we'll see. I realized we had to put in a lower eyelid. So we got to put it up as high as you want. I'm starting to work on how high I want that lower eyelid, but I forgot we got to have a lower eyelid. I want you to see how I really pulled that. I'm really working on this side and I'm pulling that up a bit. You need to take a little bit of white. Nice little tight little ball. Really work it into a little ball. You don't want it in the center of the eye. I kind of put that too. You want it on the edge. Things are looking good when disaster strikes. So I have always put a solution of Elmer's type glue, watered way down, onto my fiber bowls to strengthen them without any problem whatsoever. Then last night I did it on this one, and I want you to show what I see this morning. Look at all this white, or not white, but a clear crust, which of course is not what you want. You want it to absorb in and stiffen it. So I'm thinking, what happened? And I'm thinking that my solution, I must have poured the strength in, full strength glue, and didn't put the water in, is what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking, what do I do? How can I save this? So my idea was that when I first started to do this in felt out of bowl, they said if you didn't like the glue method, you could just wash it out. It's not a permanent stiffener because you don't want to use stiffy. So then I thought, what if I just take water and I just wet this down? Can I reverse it? So let's see if that happens. Also, another new thing that I'm trying with this, I buy Angelus leather dyes, but I think it could be done with any type of a dye. I don't think, or maybe a watered down acrylic. I don't know. I'm doing it with this just to see. I watered it down. I put on my, or not watered it down. I put it in, but then I dabbed it on a towel to keep it done. And then I began to work on the shading. Now you can shade with darker strands of wool, and that's what fiber artists do. They shade with the actual fiber. But I'm not a purist. I'm going to work with whatever I think might, and because I've kind of crusted this a little bit, I think you can put shading in. So let's see how that goes. I'm going to continue. So also, we can talk about putting in a stem. That is just using your stick, tightening it around it. I put a wire in there, and then you form it. Make it look all pockety, though. You don't want to smooth it out. And then you bring it out, and you can start bringing it out there if you like as the core of that. And that can be pretty, I would make that pretty dense before I put it on, so that it's very strong if somebody were to grab it. Gonna work on a stem. Just pretty much stick a tube up there. Look at other pumpkin. You might want it stubbier, you might want it fatter. I also remember to put a little ending piece on there, flat where it's been cut, because the stem does get cut. But, and then you have to, you know, angle it. You could put a piece of wire in there, but just be careful with wire, because sometimes it'll poke out. And if you're not careful with how you put it in, but there you go. And this is how I want to show you how I put it in the back so you can see how, and then I kind of extended it down into here. So what about eyelashes? Yep, you can make eyelashes. What you need is a fast drying glue, some embroidery floss, and a needle that'll fit it. And I need a threader because it helps. And maybe some Q-tips and a scissor, I guess. What you've got to do though, when you pull this out to start your, is you have to decide how many threads. There's 6 threads in this. I'm doing 4. You could do 2, 1, 6, whatever you wanted for your thickness. But then you cut it and you thread it with no glue on it or anything, just on here, okay? And then you find your spot where you want to do it and you poke it in and then go down pretty far. You turn it so you can see what it's going to do. There. Then you pull it out, pull it through, and then pull it through shorter than you're going to want it, because you're going to want to pull it back. And you come over here and you cut. Save that. And now you want to pull it to where you want it. Now, I want it maybe starting to be a little bit shorter than the one next to it. You can see it. Now this one's got an unusual little curl to it already. So I'm going to try to take advantage of that and keep it. I'm turning this around, but it's going the wrong direction. Yeah, because I want it to kind of curl this way. It has some of a natural curve to it. Then I'm going to kind of cut it to where I think I want it. And you can cut it again, you know. So then I think, okay, that's what I want. Then I take my very fast drying glue. If it's got a, mine doesn't have that little point on it anymore. I'm using it this way. I'm just dipping a Q-tip into this fast because I've got a lot of it. You can use it any way you want. And then you brush it on. Don't get it on the actual felting material. And then try to get it to go the direction you want. Either have it going that way ahead of time. It actually has a cute little curve in it. I don't mind that. And you can always cut them later and then try to get them to go backwards. I don't care if these are perfect right now. I'm just trying to. Now that's going to dry. Sometimes I'll sit here and I'll kind of fool with it to keep it to go backwards a little. I'm learning with this. And you just push it back. And if I touch these, they're hard as a rock. Now you then can go back when you've got them right and touch a little bit of that glue to each place where they come in so they're stuck. Remember, you don't want any of that show, and then there's, you just keep going. So what, and you can just have, you know, like one long piece of this. It could be actually a long piece, and then you can just keep working it. And you could literally, I guess, put them all in and then do all the gluing at the same time. I'm just doing this slowly because it's a new thing and I want to see how it works. But I think that's quite nice. And I'll show it to you when it's all done. So there's the lower lashes. And how you do them is like this. Now you can either use a toothpick or you can actually use the needle. So what I do is I go in and I push it into between the lid and the eyeball. And then you can cut it again, but I know I'm going to make it pretty short. That's a single strand of embroidery thread, if you want to know what I'm using. There. So now you can go and put the glue on it one at a time, or you can wait until you're all done putting these in. Now you're going to want them to go down. Now if you don't, if you want them to go upward, that's kind of up to you. I want mine to end up going downward. But that isn't to say that's what you want. Do anything you want with them. I just think this is too long. There. And of course you just take it out and fix it. Let me put the rest in and then I'll come back and show you how I glue it down. So what I'm finding is if I dip just the end of this into a little bit of watered down Elmer's glue, watered down 50-50, 60 is even better. And then what you do is you place it, because that little end has got glue on it, so that's going to help it stay. See? Then I measure down how long I think I want it. It's probably a little long. I think that's just a little bit long. Let me give it another little shortcut. Yeah, that looks better. Then I take a brush that I have. I put a little of that Elmer's in. Then what I do is I begin to brush these down and glue them to the lower lid. See, like that, paint it kind of, so that you got the idea. Oh. If they come out, you just put another one back in. So just use Elmer's and water down and just do the tip and then just push it into that, under the lid. And then you just wet it with and bring it down. And you can cut. So now they're done. Embellishment is up to you. I can't really tell you what to do with yours. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try taking these locks that I have, these wool locks, and I'm going to put them here because I want this to be like a little old lady. And then I'm going to put some yarn, crazy yarn things also in there. So when I'm done, next thing you're going to see is this is going to be done. But you've seen this process so far. I want to talk also about how I stiffen. In other words, if you can't felt it till it's really stiff because you lose some of the puffiness, it's kind of delicate. In other words, if you push on it, you can still push fairly easily. Well, that's going to make it kind of, again, like I said, delicate. It could squash it. So I try to put a covering on it to make it harder, which I've done the nose. So if you can't felt it down, like keep adding wool, you'll learn. You can just keep adding wool and felt it down until it's very, very firm. But that takes an awful lot of time and dedication to just a little pumpkin decoration. So what I do is I take Elmer's glue and they say 50-50. I think it should be 60 water, 40 glue. But we're not talking scientific recipe here. I just pour it. But what I've learned is if you accidentally have it too thick with glue, it leaves a little residue. So what I do is I turn around in the back first and I take some of the glue that I have. I've watered this down. I think I've got it there. And I put some on right here where I know it's not going to show. And I leave it there to dry. Or I dry it myself with a hair dryer, if I don't want to wait. To see if it has a crust on it. where it would show, because most of the time it does not. I have done it on felt bowls and it doesn't. But one time recently, I didn't make it. I just poured the glue in and I hadn't remembered to water it down. And I put some, and actually I put it right on this guy, and then the next morning I could see the crust on it. Well, you don't see that anymore. And the reason you don't is because it's easy to fix. You just go that wherever you have that where you didn't have it enough, you just take just water and you just keep putting water on it, and that waters it down. Even though it's dried, it'll take it down. You just keep doing that, and eventually it'll get back to being light again. So that way, what I do sometimes is I want my glue to be as thick as it can possibly be, watered down as little, but I don't want that little white crust. So I experiment. I'll put it back here, wait to see how it dries, and then if it has a little crust, I add a little water. That's just me until I get my, once I get this the way I want it, then I don't have to worry about it anymore. I know it's the right. Right now I have a brand new one. I poured a whole bunch in there. I didn't exactly pay attention to my water. So I have to kind of experiment now to make sure I don't get that little white crust. Here, maybe you can kind of see the crusting here. See how you can see, there, you can really see it. See how you can see that glue dried and you can actually see it and it's supposed to be translucent? Well, it's not going to show. I don't care because I'm going to have hair on that. But I don't like it, so I'm going to just take it down. You just put some water on it and you keep doing it and eventually that'll go away. It just actually makes it liquid again and makes it thinner. So there you go. It's not a horrible thing. So what I do then is I go and I start putting it all over there and let it dry overnight, and then it gets a hardening and it's going to be firmer. And I like that. If you want to keep it all soft and fuzzy, and also it gets rid of some of the fuzziness, and you can see your wrinkles better. But if you don't like that, you don't have to do it. It's up to you. But that's just a way to harden it. I also want to be showing you just something that I'm experimenting with. Like I said, I do want things to be a little firmer. So what I've been doing is I've been making a very, a little bit of the glue solution, 60-40, yeah. So then what I do is I've been putting it on. But then I dip it in water and I put a lot of water on it. So I'm kind of going like that. Maybe using the bigger brush, I think I have been. So I just go in there. I've just been brushing with the glue solution. Then I go and dip in water. And I think that's going to work. I'm going to see how it is in the morning. But that's basically what I'm doing because I want to harden it. But I want to make sure that I'm not putting too much. I'm not sure how much glue there should be. But I'm going to see how this works. It's basically like, and I even think that when I put the water on, if you think about it, this is wool. I'm kind of felting. I'm kind of doing some wet felting here. It didn't seem like it, but I was thinking about it. I said, well, yeah, I think it's going to harden simply because I'm putting the water on it. It'll shrink a little bit, but it'll harden, or at least get more compact. Now, if I have to then add some more wool on it because it shrinks in spots, I don't know. I mean, you don't have to be so detailed as I'm being, but I want to just see. That's what I've been doing just to see if I can harden it before I do the rest of the hair. So that I'm just trying to see how I can get this to be a little more firm. Well, this has sure been fun, guys, and I hope you learned something and you just enjoyed the whole process. If you don't mind stopping and doing a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. It's a non-monetized channel, but it does help the algorithm. And if any of you really think you'd like to take a class with me, we'll be doing this, we can put a comment in, and maybe if you live in the Long Beach area or around, we could set that up. Bye.